History Chapter 2, Factors Leading to the Growth of Nationalism and Foundation of Indian National Congress. What is nationalism? Nationalism denotes to patriotism or devotion to the nation. One who is patriotic loves his or her country and feels very loyal towards it. In countries of Asia and Africa, such an urge impelled people to fight against foreign domination. That is why the first modern political organization in India, the Congress, called itself Indian National Congress, not just Indian Congress. The objective of the Congress was cited as ending all racial, religious, and provincial prejudices and promoting a feeling of national unity among all lovers of the country. Over a period of time, the doctrine of nationalism turned into the belief that our nation was entitled to independent statehood. 19th century nationalism. The intended purpose of the chapter is to throw light on those factors that promoted nationalism and growth of new India. But before we do that, we shall refer to a few minor movements which were mostly of a local character. The first movement is movement against the indigo planters. The cultivators in Bihar and Bengal wanted to give up indigo growing, but the British planters forced them to do it. In April 1860, that is just 3 years after the first War of Independence, the cultivators refused to sow indigo, which probably became the first instance of organized non-corporation in the history of Indian peasantry. Then the second one is the Kuka movement. The Kuka movement in Punjab began as an attempt to purify the Sikh religion. But by 1863, the movement assumed a political character. The Kuka leaders Balak Singh and Ram Singh asked their followers not to accept government jobs and to boycott foreign goods. The third one is an armed revolt in the Deccan led by Vasudev Baldev Phadke. The next important happening was the revolt engineered by Vasudev Balban Phadke in Maharashtra and the neighboring regions. From 1879 to 1883, he moved from place to place, instigating people against the British Raj. These movements, however, were mostly of a local character. The 80s of the 19th century saw the birth of the Indian national movement. Then socio-religious reform movements. Aurobindo said, "It was in religion first that the soul of India awoke and triumphed." The 19th century saw a series of religious and social reform movements. Contribution of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy heralded the coming of the modern age in Indian history. The Brahmo Samaj, established in 1828, was not merely a religious movement, it also included in its program matters of social and political reform. It brought in a new awakening in India. His approach to religion. Ram Mohan Roy was a great humanist. He stressed the unity of all religions. Ram Mohan Roy was inspired by the monotheism of Islam, that is, the unity of Godhead, the ethical teachings of Christianity, and sublime doctrines of the Upanishads. Social reforms. The Brahmo Samaj attacked the caste system, the practice of polygamy, child marriage, and the sati system. Raja Ram Mohan Roy started his anti-sati crusade in 1818. It was in 1829 that the practice of sati was made illegal in India. He protested against the practice of denying women the right to property. These reforms, he believed, were necessary for political advancement and happiness of the people of India. Liberty, rights, and a free press. Ram Mohan Roy could see the importance of English education in the modern world. In spite of his admiration for the British, Ram Mohan Roy was a staunch nationalist. He regarded liberty as a priceless possession of every individual. There existed many restrictions on the publication of newspapers in those days. Ram Mohan Roy had started a Bengali weekly called Samvad Komudi in 1821. Later, he started a Persian paper called Mirat-ul-Akhbar. Both the publications had a distinct nationalist and progressive character. Along with a few eminent persons, Roy presented a petition to the Supreme Court for legal actions to be taken against press regulations. His economic ideas. Ram Mohan Roy was sympathetic to the cause of the poor peasants. He wanted the military budget to be reduced so that more funds were available for activities concerned with the health and education of the people. He sailed for England in 1830 to appear before a select committee of the British Parliament. He apprised the Committee of the Poor Economic Condition of the People in India. Then Prarthana Samaj, the Brahmo Samaj movement, gradually had its influence felt outside Bengal also, so especially in Maharashtra. There it led to the establishment of Prarthana Samaj in the year 1867. Its founder and the most important leader was Keshav Chandra Sen. They believed in social reforms such as intercaste marriage and improvement in the living conditions of women and the so-called lowly class and the rational worship of one god. Later, Mahadeva Govind Ranade was also associated with this organization. His ideas to reform were wider than those of Keshav Chandra Sen. He said you cannot have a good social system when you find yourself low in the scale of political rights. In other words, Indians should be fighting for legal and political rights as well. Contribution of Jyotiba Phule. Jyotiba Phule was born in 1827 in Satara district of Maharashtra. The family earned their living by growing flowers and vegetables. They were malis, that is gardeners, by caste and hence came to be called Phule, that is florists. And social reforms. Jyotiba Phule was a highly admired social reformer of the 19th century, upliftment of the lower castes. The caste structure was to him slavery. His book Gulamgiri focused on the Brahmin domination and the poverty, hardship and distress which the lower castes were then facing. Phule strongly felt that all the problems of Dalits, whom he called Shudras and Ati Shudras, could be solved if proper education was provided to them. Gender justice. Phule said that women were superior to men because they bore children and nursed them. Men kept their women uneducated so that they could never question their domination. Phule established in 1848 one of the first girls' schools in India. He set up an orphanage in 1854 to provide shelter to poor widows and their children. He also founded a number of schools for girls and the lower castes, that is the Malahars and the monks. then Satya Shodhak Samaj. Phule founded the Satya Shodhak Samaj, Society of the Seekers of Truth, on 24th of September 1873. The society endeavored to mitigate the distress and sufferings of Dalits and women. His wife Savitri Bai was the head of the women's wing of the society. Character of the British Empire. Phule praised the British rule because it gave Indians the tools with which to fight social injustice. It is, however, heartening to find Phule mentioning in his book Gulamgiri that it were the farmers on whose labours the government, its army, and salaries and pensions of the whites depended. According to Phule, when the farmers educate themselves and carry wimp on their shoulders, the English will have to scream and yell and flee the country.